Good afternoon, everyone. Warm up post-it, a bit of a review. We've been learning a lot about World War I, the treaties that were signed, important battles, effects inside and outside the battles. We're going to take a step back and look at what's going on in Russia for today. We did mention Russia a little bit. So what was happening in Russia that led them to drop out of World War I? Who remembers? The Russian Revolution, correct. And how did this impact the course of the war? We're going to dig deeper in this question, but what was one of the main things? Remember, we put ourselves in Germany's shoes, right? So with Russia out, where does that happen? Where do they focus their troops? They're done fighting in the east. Now
They went to the west.
going to the west. Focusing on the trenches. That added pressure allowed for the U.S. to get involved, and it became a big snowball effect with a lot of intertwining factors. We're gonna learn more about this second question today. Once you guys get that warm-up done, I'll be passing out the worksheet. So instead of your notebooks, we're gonna follow along with this timeline. Now we're going to focus on the Russian Revolution and how that impacted World War I. We're also going to see a bit of a rise of communism during this period. So let's close our laptops. We just need our pencil, pen, and the worksheet. Your first box should be the key people, groups, and terms to know. That's the first part of the page. So. It's a good amount of notes today. That's just due to the fact that there was a lot of history, a lot of events going on in Russia. We're going to try to condense it and get as much background knowledge as we can through these slides. For now, let's start with the vocabulary. Just what's underlined: Tsar, absolute monarch, or ruler of Russia. That's what they call the leader of Russia. And the other main one is Bolsheviks. That's the communist majority faction. Pretty much like a political party that was rising up during the revolutions that we're going to learn about. Proletariat just means low class, lowest class in the society, the working class. And that third term, bourgeoisie, that's the middle class. That's how you pronounce it. So just what's underlined, the first and last word is said. Try to be mindful how big you write. You should be able to fit. Other students don't have trouble, but try to keep that in mind. My pencil's down once you're done, so I know we can continue. I'll post the slides over. Okay. All right. One more key term. Totalitarianism. Government that takes total control of every aspect of life. Kind of the government that was going on in Russia. Romanov is the Tsarist royal family. Soviet is elected councils formed during the revolution. We'll learn a little bit more about those in the slides. And I'll just copy the middle bullet, please. more seconds. Good. Gotta move along kind of quickly, take a lot of notes. So pre-revolutionary Russia. So Russia was the only true autocracy left in Europe. There's no representative political institutions for the people. Nicholas II became Tsar in 1884. And the two major parties at this time were the Mensheviks and the radical Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin. We're going to learn more about Vladimir Lenin later on. But the Bolsheviks is the party that eventually turns into the Communist Party. So keep those names in mind. Lenin, Bolsheviks, Communist Party. Those are all associated. And so when Nicholas II became Tsar, it was during the height of imperialism, and he had suffered a major defeat in Japan. It was a good battlefield game. So, one of the major events, Bloody Sunday, and the Revolution of 1905. So thousands of urban workers, poor peasants from the countryside were peacefully protesting, and they sought to petition the Tsar for better working conditions and suffrage. Suffrage is another word for voting rights. I know it sounds like suffering, but it has nothing to do with suffering. Suffrage is just the ability to vote. So they wanted to vote and better working conditions, right? That's what they're protesting, peacefully. The Tsar's guards fired into the crowd, and it sparked widespread strikes and uprisings all over Russia. The Duma, Russian Congress, was allowed more power temporarily, but the Tsar dissolved it within weeks. You guys remember the American Revolution? There was kind of the same instance with the shot heard around the world. Americans protesting. They don't know what instigated first, but there was a shot fired, right? That kind of ignited the revolution in America. So we kind of see those correlations and revolutions in different parts of the world. So there was a peaceful protest from the workers, and they got shot at by the Tsar's guards, the King's guards. First, third, and fourth bullet for this slide. I'll be right now. That's the Russian king. Tsar is the name he gave. Oh, the Tsar's guards. Oh, yes, the Tsar. Yeah, the Tsar. So, World War I. So knowing what's going on with the people, they're not getting paid well, they want the right to vote, unhappy with the king, the Tsar, he decides to join World War I. And this just revealed the ineptitude and the arrogance of the country's aristocratic elite. The peasants had very little invested in the war, were poorly supplied, and there was a lot of Russian casualties. A lot of soldiers died during this time. You can imagine there is no morale. They were not motivated to fight for Russia. They're not going to send the rich to fight. They're going to send the poor people, the ones that have been protesting, right? So it just keeps adding fuel to the flames, wanting a new government. just creates another reason why to begin the revolution. Couple more seconds. I will post the slides at the end, so don't worry, you don't catch everything right now. So, they enter World War I. The Tsar goes to the front lines on the east, try to boost morale. While Nicholas is gone, Alexandra steps in. She's part of the royal family, and she's not managing the country really well. She's being influenced by a man named Rasputin, a mystical holy man. So Rasputin, he has really controversial ways of achieving holiness, at least to say. And the people believe he was the one influencing her and how to run the government. So think about it. Once again, you don't have the right to vote. Working conditions are horrible. You entered a war that you're losing, and now you're finding out the main czar is not there, and the one left in charge is being influenced by Rasputin. Just another layer to the reasons why they need a new change in government and begin the revolution. Well, there's been various at this point, right? There's another one, right? A little bit more time. So the government collapses, the imperial government, Alexandra and Rasputin throw the government into chaos, complete mismanagement of wartime economy. Remember, economies during war, you have to ration, all the stuff gets dedicated to the war. They're already a poor country. Resources are already limited. You know, they're struggling, the lower class is struggling to live, and with less resources for them to be dedicated to the war, you know, it reaches a breaking point. So Alexandria and other high government officials are accused of treason, resulting in Rasputin being assassinated in December of 1916. And I really like this visual here that they made, where you have Rasputin there, you know, it's really scary, ominous looking, and he's kind of cradling, you know, Nicholas and Alexandra in his arms. So by looking at that, who's really in control there? Rasputin or the Tsar? Rasputin, right? He's the way they depict him, right? Just holding him like babies almost. So that's how the public was perceiving, you know, what was going on in the government. And we get the March Revolution. It started with food riots, strikes, and protests against the war. The Duma declared itself a provisional government, meaning a government for the meantime, formed Soviets, local councils. Tsar Nicholas steps down, and Lenin and his Bolsheviks return. Now, during this time, we're going to see in the next slide, but it says returned, so it means he had left. He had left because he had already been starting anti-czar protests and pushing the Bolshevik movement, which aligns with Karl Marx's communist ideas, socialism. You know, the people wanted out of the war. The current government was still keeping them in, but the Bolsheviks wanted out. There's Vladimir Lenin. He was leading the Marxist revolutionary. He had been exiled to Siberia, like I said, for the anti-czar protests, spreading his message. And he returns back to take the lead and implement the socialist reforms. So he was the voice of the people at the time. He was standing up for them. You guys remember a lot of Karl Marx's ideas is about dismantling the elite, redistributing the wealth and resources, the means of production to the lower classes. And these new ideas were really appealing to the Russian people at the time. That's what gained them that strong vote and led the movement forward. You guys don't have to copy this, but the October Bolshevik Revolution, the Red Guards, the workers take over government offices and arrest the leaders of the provisional government. So the government that was just there in the meantime, they arrested them. All private property of wealthy and abolished was abolished and divided among the peasantry. So things like the wealth from the top, from the elites, spread among the poor people. And the largest industrial enterprises nationalized. So now they're owned by everyone. We can copy this. So political police are organized. Revolutionary army created by Leon Trotsky in charge, the Red Army. So now we get the formation of the political police, the Red Army. You've heard these terms when speaking about World War II. Some of you guys are familiar. The Bolshevik Party renamed Communist Party in March of 1918. Another familiar term, if you're good with your World War II history, Communist, Red Army. Now we're starting to see how, the formation of the Soviet Union. And this is important right here. The Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, negotiated with Germany, and Russia leaves World War I. So that's the treaty that got Russia out of the war, signed with Germany. Brest-Litovsk. We have the Civil War in Russia. Fought between 1917 and 1920. We have the Reds versus the Whites. The Reds meaning the Bolsheviks, the Communist Party's army, and the Whites, which were the army officers and bourgeoisie and other revolutionaries. The Whites were supported by the Allies. Can you see the countries there? England, France, USA, and Japan. Those are the Allies, remember? So they were backing the White Army. Red Army ultimately won. So it was a long road, bloody road for the Bolsheviks, aka the Communist Party, to come to fruition. Revolutions, civil war, countless protests, civil unrest, joining World War I, exiting World War I. They had to go through a lot. Remember, the color red's always associated with the communist parties. When you hear red, or Bolshevik, communist, it's all the same thing. You have the death of the imperial family. They were placed under house arrest during the March Revolution. Tsar Nicholas, Alexandra, and the 5 children were all executed in July of 1917. This is a common theme seen in Russian dictatorships where they completely eliminate the opposition. Anyone they don't trust, anyone that goes against their plans, they get killed. To that same box, it's 2 in 1. So it's death of the family and then the Soviet Union. So Lenin renamed Russia the Soviet Union in 1922, reorganized the country, implements the communist ideas of Karl Marx. He issued his new economic policy in 1921, allowing some capitalist policies. We see Russia fully turned into, the Russia we know from the modern age. They're called the Soviet Union, the Communist Party, they have the Red Army. After this, we have one more bullet and then question time. One bullet there. So shortly after Lenin got to power, changed the name, Joseph Stalin took power following his death in 1920. So he didn't reign too long. And Joseph Stalin was already a revolutionary in the Bolsheviks, so they weren't communists yet. Joseph Stalin was there with the Bolsheviks, started gaining higher ranks within the political party, and when Vladimir Lenin passed away, Joseph Stalin took his spot. figure in World War II. That's how it came up. So question time, guys. You know this. Those are our questions. On that same box where it says Joseph Stalin, you have space, make a line question time. Take a look at the questions, review the notes. So for number one, we're looking for a name, the Tsar of Russia or the Russian leaders. Nicholas II, Tsar Nicholas II, yes, for number one. Thank you. Number two, what did Russia rename itself after the Russian Revolution? The Soviet Union. Let's get someone else that's not Jesus this time. Bolshevik revolutionary took power after Lenin's death. Oh, the last bullet point there. What was the name?
Joseph?
Joseph Stalin. Yes. Good. I'm gonna upload the notes just in case you didn't catch them. Yeah. You can use your phone to take the picture now if you have all the notes. I just posted them right now. You didn't complete them. So now, with that background information, we're going to work on assignment 153. And it's just some comprehension questions on a reading. You click on this link, it'll take you here. It's a summary of the Russian Revolution with the impact it had on World War I. Some of these questions you could just answer based off the notes we took and off the details I was emphasizing. But I would encourage to read that document. When you get to this third slide, number 10 and number 11, they're opinion based, but based off the readings, answer those questions. There's not exactly a right or wrong answer. You just have to justify and explain the reason. Yeah. Come back quick. I'm also going to sign an exit ticket. You can do it after or get it done right now. I'm just going to give you a short paragraph describing the influence of the Russian Revolution and World War I. Any questions? I'll be walking around making sure everyone's on task.
Yeah, if you have all the notes, I'll